Hey guys, we are at Glen Helen today riding the 2024 Honda CRF 250 and 450. These bikes didn't get any changes. In fact, the only thing different is the battery manufacturer for each of these bikes has changed. Other than that though, the batteries, it's no different. It's just a different manufacturer. That's the only change. So rather than come out and just give you the same review we gave you last year, these are great bikes. We know that, we like them. They won quite a few races this year in the professional ranks, so we know it's a great platform. We thought we would chat with some folks in a different sort of context. We've got one of our test riders here, Adam, who is a fellow fireman, Rancho Cucamonga Fire, and he has not ridden a Honda for a long time. The last Honda you said was an 06?
Yeah, I had a 06 250F, and the last Honda I raced was a 07 450.
So needless to say, it's been a while since he's ridden one of these red machines, and I wanted to have you jump on and just give your opinion of how far they've come since 06, what your thoughts were on the bike. We had some rain, which is wild for this time of year in Southern California. Track's a little muddy, but outside of the mud, what were your thoughts on this thing?
First of all, I mean, way different, obviously, platform from the last time I got to ride one. Those things were super aggressive power band, really could pull your arms off. The biggest thing I noticed is just how smooth that power band is. It can still really get up on it if you twist that throttle quickly, which I did a couple times out there. But other than that, it just tracks very well. It's a super balanced platform. The ergonomics are great. I felt comfortable. I just moved the levers. I left the bars, didn't mess with any of the foot levers, and it just felt great out of the gate. So, and this thing is brand new. Like, I was the first one to put this bike on the track. So it's still a little stiff, needs to break in a bit, but right away I felt comfortable.
And crazy how good throttle response is. You know, thinking back to that 06, those were great bikes. But they definitely had a carbureted feel, you know, just a slight hesitation. And back then you wouldn't have said it did have a hesitation, but after riding a fuel-injected bike,
right,
it's instantaneous.
Oh yeah, and I spend a lot of time on two-stroke, so I have an RM250. Obviously no carburation, anything there, and that's the biggest thing, just how light that throttle body feels. Like, you can accidentally burp it and get that thing out of control if you're not careful. So that's just a bit learning curve riding the modern 450s, especially all the fuel injection and stuff. So, but other than that, yeah, it's great. It feels very balanced. I didn't even mess any clickers. It's a little dicey in the track, so I didn't want to get too crazy trying to move stuff around and then get myself in a weird position. But the front wheel track's really nice. I had a great time out there.
Good brakes, good clutch, all that stuff. I noticed you did say when you came in one time that the distance from the shifter to the foot peg was kind of tight for you. You got a size 11 boot.
Yeah, so I noticed it. Actually, the 450 felt fine. I noticed it when I stepped onto the 250F for a second.
Okay.
That one felt like, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can get my foot under there without maybe a little adjustment. On this one, though, it actually felt pretty good. I didn't feel like I was missing shifts out there, so.
Okay, interesting. Any other overall thoughts on this thing? Do you have other new bikes you can compare it to?
The last modern bike I rode was actually year 450 at the Event Nationals last year, and that was the Yamaha 22. I really like that thing. They felt kind of similar. I think their platforms aren't too crazy different. The one thing I will say, while it's updated and feels really nice, it still feels like a Honda to me. Like, just the way it corners, where I rode a lot of Suzukis that really dive, this thing wants to float a little bit higher. So it's just a different riding style, but it feels updated, better, but familiar at the same time. So good tradition they have going.
It's crazy how all those manufacturers can keep the feel. I don't even know what that means, but if you say it feels like a Honda, people understand what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for giving us a spin, Adam. Now we've got someone else riding the 250. Okay, to jump on our 250, we found Kat Fitzpatrick. You are traditionally like an off-roader, dual sporter, and your first ever race was last weekend at the Elsinore GP. And you said you had a blast, and I said, hey, have you ever ridden a motocross bike or a motocross track? And you're like, not so much. And I said, all right, well, guess what? Let's go. I wanted someone's opinion on a first-timer. You know, she's comfortable on motorcycles and riding off-road, but has never been on an actual motocross bike or track. So we started her on the Supercross track here at Glen Helen, the kids track, a little bit of vet track. I want to hear what you thought.
All right, well, I had a lot of fun on this bike. I was a little hesitant coming in because there's some things that are similar, but a lot of things that are very different from the riding I'm used to. It took a couple laps to get warmed up, and then I felt really comfortable on it. I felt like safe, secure, and I could kind of start to bring my own style. It felt really smooth. The things that I did notice as well that are still a bit of an adjustment are I use my clutch a lot on my two-stroke on the trails and the single track, and I was naturally kind of getting into that a little bit more than I needed to with the 4-stroke here on this track. And so I kind of had to change and adjust that to get off of the clutch a little bit and let the throttle really like smooth itself out. And then when it did, it was like really fun. So I had a blast on it. Each lap has been more and more fun. I think the only thing that we changed was the levers down a little bit, set the sag, and then as much as we could set the sag in the spring to my weight.
Yeah, we didn't quite get to the right sag numbers for it, but we just went until the spring was basically loose and rattling around. Close enough.
Yeah.
And we did talk about, because you normally ride a 2-stroke dual sport bike, and I said, hey, you need to try to leave the clutch alone. That's one thing that's going to be different, and you found that.
Yep.
But you also said it was very smooth once you do that. That's a great thing about a 4-stroke. It's a very torquey, friendly, easy to ride motor once you get comfortable with it.
Right, absolutely. When I wanted to go clutch and kind of shift and I let it go and was on the throttle, it's like it read my mind and got me like right to the speed that I wanted to, and it was really fun. And so then taking that from this smaller track up to the vet track when the straights were a little bit longer, I definitely got a bigger feel for it, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah. And you said the one thing that you liked about the track too, short lap time tracks like this, was it gave you more opportunities to improve lap to lap, where on a trail ride, you don't get it. You screw something up, you're like, well, maybe next week if I ride it again, I'll do something.
Yep, you're like, man, I could have done that better, and then you'll totally forget about it again. Maybe come back to the same trail and be like, oh, dang, I was supposed to do that better. And so you never really get the chance to like grab the group, come back around, let's just session this thing. And they're like, no, we got 40 miles to go. So it was really cool to take an obstacle and have repetitions on it and then get that instant feedback and come right back around. And yeah, I'm a little bit hooked.
Okay, so we got a new motocrosser here. I'm happy about that. I mean, we love off-road too, but it's nice to be well-rounded, right? I mean, one complements the other. And this is a great bike, would you say, even for someone starting, first time?
Absolutely. I felt really safe on it. The things that I was like concerned about with it being too much power or anything, I wasn't concerned. It's super comfortable to stand and to sit on. And so as long as I'm able to like stand, for me, that's where I'm most comfortable. And I went up and down a bunch in the corners and stuff and was able to find my footing, feel safe, and then that smooth power part didn't have the big pull that I think is like the intimidation part of jumping on one of these bikes.
Yeah, I think people have a presumption that a motocross bike is just going to jump out from underneath them. And to be fair, some of the old 2-strokes were kind of like that. Once the power came on, it jumped out from under you. But these are very easy to ride, not too different from an off-road bike, just maybe a little more power once you get into the throttle.
Yep, exactly. And like pretty fun on the wide open stuff, and you just attack it a different way versus like a trail where you don't know what's coming. You know what's coming, but you might approach it a different way and learn and still get a lot from the trail and from the bike. So like the engagement part I was pretty excited about. It's not boring at all.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys watching. Kat, thanks so much. Thanks to Adam for riding our 450. These bikes are in your Honda dealers right now. So if you're looking for a new machine and you like red, check these guys out. Great bikes.